everyone, welcome back to Abhyas Law Prep. Today in this video, we'll be learning most important topic of our law set exam. In legal reasoning, your constitution law plays a role where it can break you or it can make you. So whether you'll get the rank or not, it's solely dependent on your constitutional law. Because if you have 60 questions, the 50 questions of legal reasoning in Telangana law set, so somewhere 15 minimum you'll get 10 questions. It can go to max 15 might be. So you should be thorough with your constitutional law. So in this video we'll be seeing few important concepts. We'll be not covering the whole of the constitution, but we will start with the importance. Why is your constitution even important? So you'll see minimum 8 to 10 questions directly or indirectly asked in your exam. It will be mostly from your fundamental rights, DPSP, preamble, president's powers, or what is president, under which article president's power is given, something like that. It will also talk about emergency. If you know, we have 3 types of emergency, about that, or else about your writs. So if you remember articles from constitution, it will be way more easier for you to score. So question comes, what is constitution? So if you know, for every religion you have some sacred book which you treat the most important above everyone. Same here goes with us. In India, your constitution is supreme law of the land. You can't go against constitution. If you do something against constitution, it will be treated void in a sense, something which is illegal. So it is the fundamental legal document of the country and it is supreme above everyone or everything. So all your laws, if you see generally, all your laws, all of your, you can say prime minister, president, all of the citizens, all of the officials derive their rights, derive their duties, derive their powers from constitution. So what constitution actually defines? It defines powers of the government, what powers government hold, rights of the citizens, me and you, what rights we actually have, and the relationship between the state and the people. Question comes, what is state? So here when we are talking about state, it is usually our country, that is India. So state means India, and what is relationship of India with its people, with its citizen? All laws must be consistent with the constitution. So we'll go further to article 13 where we'll learn that if any law is inconsistent, what if constitution is saying something and you made a law which is saying something else, then what happens? So here thumb rule is no law should go against constitution. So coming to facts. Fact is, your Indian constitution is the largest written constitution in the world. It is largest as well as it is written. So it is largest written constitution. And it is borrowed from many countries. If you know, it is also known as basket of borrowings, where we have borrowed many things from different countries and we made our constitution. What is need of the constitution? Why do we even need constitution? So to control government's power, if you think there is no governing body, idi tappu, idi right cheppadaniki mana daggara evaru leru. So might be our government might do something arbitrary. Arbitrary is nothing but wrong. They might exceed their powers. If they have, if you see in other countries where they don't have strong laws and the government becomes dictatorial. What do you mean by dictatorial? Like your China, like your North Korea, something like that. So our constitution makes sure that your government is under control and they're not exceeding their powers. And here it also protects our fundamental rights. The main motive of constitution is to make sure that citizens' rights are protected, citizens are protected, and government is also made actually to protect us. So under constitution, our rights are also protected under article 32, which we'll be seeing further. Then to maintain rule of law. What is rule of law? Rule of law means if you see, if in a court there is a case where Ambani is standing and I am standing, so judge will not treat us unequally. It will not say that I am poor and he is rich. So in front of law, all are equal, which is what your rule of law says. It divides power between center and state. If you know, we have powers already delegated, which is also known as federal feature. Federal feature may we will have center designated with its own powers and state designated with its own power on what they will make laws. So we'll also discuss about it further. Then comes to ensure justice, liberty and equality. So every particular provision in constitution makes sure that our justice, our liberty and our equality is protected and upheld. If there is no constitution, there will be no fixed legal system in India. You can assume if there is no law, how would India even work? So constitution is most important to make sure there is a systematic governance in India. Coming to the historical background, your constitution didn't come directly. Actually, it started from way further, you can say 1773, where your British Parliament started to control us. In a parliamentary style, they started controlling us or governing us from 1773 Regulatory Act. Then in 1883, they started centralized rule. What do you mean by centralized rule? They'll rule whole of the India from center. That is centralization, which happened in 1833. Then Government of India Act 1858 switched. First your East India Company was ruling us, then here crown rule entered. What is crown rule? The Queen and King of your UK started ruling Indians, not your East India Company. It happened in 1858 under Government of India Act. Then in 1909, this is also known as Morley-Minto, the Morley-Minto reform, you can say. In 1909, they made a separate electorals. What is electorals? That where you'll give vote, where you'll cast vote, it is already separated on basis of religion. Here for the first time they have separated Muslims and your Indians, your Hindus, which means there'll be two electoral rolls. Right now, if you know, in India, we have only one electoral roll according to your area, and there'll be no differentiation between gender, between caste, or between religion. But here in 1909, they made two separate electorals for your Muslims and for your Hindus. Then coming to 1919, where the Government of India Act introduced diarchy system, which is what we are following right now. That is also known as bicameral. Diarchy is nothing but di means two, and it is also resembling your bicameral system where we have two governments, or like we have divided powers or functions into two types. India Act 1935 gave us a blueprint of constitution. The idea of constitution came here into picture. That is in 1935, where they had a plan that we should also have constitution like other countries, and the blueprint of constitution was seen in this year. Now comes Constituent Assembly. Introducing a you to the Constituent Assembly. It is nothing but a body which was made to frame our constitution. So the Constituent Assembly was formed in 1946 December, and our constitution, as we all know, was adopted at 1949 around November 26, and straight away 26 Jan 1950 it got enforced. It came into power, or it came into functioning. So we adopted it in 26 November and it got enforced in 26 Jan. And you can see just few months, 1949, 1950. Now coming to few facts you should know about the Constituent Assembly. The idea of Constituent Assembly was given by your M.N. Rao. He was the one who have come up with an idea that we should form a body which will make constitution, and it was formed under Cabinet Mission Plan. You should remember these because you'll get direct questions from these facts. Somewhere they'll ask you how many days or how many years it took it took Constituent Assembly to frame a constitution, or it can be who was the one who took initiative, or else it can also be how many original members were there in Constituent Assembly. So usually you get fact-based questions. What are fact-based questions? It means direct question. Idundi manam idi gurtupettukovala, direct you need to answer. Whereas coming to CLAT, you need to read passage, you need to analyze. But here you'll also see direct fact-based questions. So it is very important for you to know this. Then comes, it was framed and it was formed under Cabinet Mission Plan. And then comes, originally when this assembly was made, they had 389 members in it. And the chairman who was presiding this assembly, this was presided by your Rajendra Prasad, and your drafting committee chairman is our Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It took all 2 years, 11 months, 18 days to them to make our constitution, to frame our constitutions. And they also held 11 sessions in between. In a sense, in this time period when they were framing our constitution, they conducted or they held 11 sessions. Please take a screenshot if you require it, because you need to remember all these facts. Now coming to the important dates, you should remember when our constitution was made, when it was enforced. So 9 December 1946, it was the first meeting of our Constituent Assembly. 1947, that is your 29th of August, our drafting committee was formed, which was headed by your Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. You should keep on linking things like this. And 26th November 1949, we adopted our constitution. And 24th Jan 1950, constitution was signed and it came into force on 26th Jan 1950. So in 1950, 26th Jan. 1950, 24th Jan, it was signed. You need to remember it like that. Now coming to sources of the constitution, from where, as we already discussed that we have borrowed our constitution from different countries. So we'll know what provision or what thing we have actually borrowed from a particular country. Now coming to Britain. From Britain we have took your parliamentary government. The parliament right now we have. Rule of law, we said no man is above law. You can't differentiate between people, poor, rich, that is your rule of law. Single citizenship. Single citizenship in India, we follow that if you're a citizen of India, you are only citizen of India. You can't hold any other country's citizenship. Now comes USA. From USA, we borrowed fundamental rights. We borrowed judicial review. What is judicial review? It is nothing but if legislature goes beyond or make any law which is not consistent with your constitution, then your judiciary have every right to interfere as what judicial review. Then comes preamble. We'll discuss preamble just after this, so I'll explain it in detail. And then Ireland talks about your DPSPs, Directive Principles of State Policies, which is actually a guiding light for our government or our lawmakers to how make a particular law which will be beneficial for citizens. So we'll have list of DPSPs, which is nothing but guidelines how to make law. Coming to Canada, here we actually borrowed a system which we follow right now, that we have center government, we have state government. They both have divided powers, that is federal system, but we have strong center. If something goes wrong, if there is some contradictory between state and center, then always center will win. The strongest party is always center. So it is federal, but with your strong center. Coming to Australia, you have seen concurrent list, so I'll explain it to you right now. We have three types of list. One is union list, one is state list, and one is concurrent list. Under union list, they will say you on which matters or on which topics your center government can make laws. For example, trade. And then on state, if state list says on which matter state can make laws. So it can be agriculture. And here, concurrent list is something where both your union and your state both can make laws together. And many times when there will be a clash between union and state here in concurrent list, always your union will win. That is, your center will win. From Germany, we have borrowed emergency provision. What is emergency? It is nothing but when there is some problem in our country. It can be external problem like war, internal problem like in a state there is no government, there is no law and order, then you will imply emergency. There is also financial emergency. When there is a financial crunch in India, will impose financial emergency. So the provision of emergency have been borrowed from Germany. Now comes your USSR, that is your Russia. From Russia, we have borrowed fundamental duties. From South Africa, we borrowed the power or the procedure how to amend constitution. As you know, we have amended constitution. So the procedure how to amend a particular provision in your constitution was been borrowed by Africa. You can remember it by A, say Africa, A, say amendment. Then comes Japan, which talks about established procedure established by law. If in your constitution it is said that if your legal right have been violated, you can approach High Court and you can approach Supreme Court under so and so article. Then you need to follow it by hook or crook. So the procedure how to follow a thing or how to file a case is already established in your law. Then you should follow it. Now, as we said, it is your Indian constitution is also known as bag of borrowings. They can ask you what Indian constitution is known as. It is known as bag of borrowings. Now coming to the salient features. What do you mean by salient features? It is nothing but characteristics. What are the characteristics of our Indian constitution? Number one, it is written and lengthiest constitution. It is the lengthiest constitution of world which is in written form. You can just comment who have written our Indian constitution. Now it has sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic features in it. What do you mean by sovereign? Sovereign means India is independent internally and externally. If for any matter we need not to follow someone's order. Some country like US or UK or Russia can't say us what to do, what not to do. We are independent and we take our own decisions. Now comes socialist. It means that in India, they'll make sure that there is no sort of discrimination made. Discrimination on basis of caste, discrimination on basis of class, that you're rich, you're poor, will not be there, is socialist. Secular is nothing but no religion will be seen above another. In a sense, we'll treat all the religions equally. Now comes to democratic republic is the citizens of India will have right to elect our our prime minister, that is our leader, and it is held by a proper election basis. We have the procedure how elections are done, and we'll follow that particular procedure. That is democratic republic. Now comes parliamentary form of government. We have bicameral system, Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha, and then state assemblies and state legislatures. So that is parliamentary form. Federal system means your center and your state powers have been divided, but at the end of day, your center will be the strongest one. Now comes independent judiciary. There will be no influence. Your legislature or your executive can't interfere in judiciary. They can't say judiciary what to do, what not to do. So our judiciary is totally free from any political problems. In a sense, no politician can come and command judiciary that hire so-and-so person as High Court judge, hire so-and-so person as Supreme Court judge. Because we have independent judiciary and they have their own procedures. Now coming to fundamental right, it is our basic human right which have been guaranteed under our constitution, and it is protected under Article 32 and 226. Now comes DPSP, as we have already seen it. It is nothing but guidelines given to lawmakers how a law should be made. Now comes fundamental duties, which is more like moral obligation on you. It is not binding. If you're not performing your duty as citizen, they'll not just arrest you. It is nothing but more like an moral obligation. Universal adult franchisee. Before it used to be the legal age to vote used to be 21, and now after this came in, it became 18. Now every person who have 18 years, who have attained age of 18, can vote. Single citizenship, we have already seen. If you are holding any other country's citizenship, you can't hold India's citizenship. And then rule of law, we said no person is above law. You don't discriminate people on basis of rich, poor, or class caste. That is rule of law. Judicial review is nothing but judiciary reviewing legislature's activities, or judicially review. I mean, your judiciary will review laws which are inconsistent to your constitution. Now comes emergency provisions, which we have discussed earlier. That is nothing but when there is any problem in India, external or internal, your center will be strong and it will be overseeing the functions. Now coming to preamble. Preamble is nothing but if you see a book, ఒక book చూస్తే దానికి ఇండెక్స్ చూసి మనకి ఏం అర్థమవుతుంది, ఈ బుక్లో దే ఆర్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ దిస్, దే ఆర్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ సో అండ్ సో కంటెంట్. సో your preamble is just like that. It is saying what India wants to become, or what was the objective or motive behind your constitution, what was the lawmaker, your drafting committee members, what their motive was behind making the constitution. So your preamble, this is what preamble looks like. So the preamble states that people of India adopted Constitution on 26 November 1949. We have adopted, then it was enacted on 26 Jan 1950. That is different. In the Constituent Assembly with the purpose of forming India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to ensure all citizens social, economic, and political justice, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, fraternity of all, ensuring dignity of individual, and unity and integrity of the nation. This is your preamble. It is better if you remember it. If you can't, make sure you remember this, the sequence of this: sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and what all comes here. That is your social, economic, political, liberty, equality, fraternity. So these are the keywords. At least try to remember keywords. Now, understanding your preamble, it starts with we. What do we mean by we? We, it is me and you, the people of India. So this is borrowed from USA, that is America, where it also starts with we the people of America. So it says we the people of India, we have gifted constitution to ourselves. So usually they say that constitution, the source of constitution is nothing but the citizens, the people of India. So we say we the people of India have given constitution to ourselves, we have gifted it to ourselves. Now the keywords in preamble you should know is India is, they are talking that India is sovereign. We said that India is independent, India is sovereign. It means independent, socialist, there will be no discrimination. On what basis? On basis of caste, on basis of class, that is socialist. Secular, religion, no religion is high or low, all are equal. This is equal symbol, okay. So all religions are equal, it is saying. Democratic republic means where we are self-electing. You can also say electing. we, the citizens of India, are electing our upcoming prime minister, and here we know it is democratic country, and we citizen will choose our next leader. It is not like Raja ka beta Raja, that is your monarchy, but we here follow democracy. Now, what are our goals? Our goals, I mean, our innocence, the lawmakers, what said India's goals is to make sure that there is justice of every type, socially, your economically, you'll have justice, and then there'll be liberty ante azadi, where you can freely say anything, where you can freely do anything, where you can freely choose your own religion, that is your liberty. Equality, there'll be no discrimination, is what equality says. So, fact, one of the important point, that preamble is also known as identity card or soul of our constitution. You can remember this. They can ask what is known as soul of constitution. You can say preamble is known as soul of our constitution. Now coming to the most important, and even few people find it bit difficult to remember it, so you can remember it like this. We have 6 fundamental rights, and fundamental rights are the freedom which is given by our constitution to us. So we have 6 fundamental rights. First one is right to equality. Article 14 to 18 talks about equality. Article 19 to 22 talks about freedom. Article 23 and 24 talks about exploitation. If you say, it is also known as shoshan. Shoshan is nothing but exploiting people. When we talk about religion, our freedom to religion is here in Article 25 to 28. Then comes cultural and educational rights. Your right to establish educational institution, to protect your language, to protect your religion is under Article 29-30. Next comes your remedies, constitutional remedies under Article 32. So here, if me rights violate aute till here, if your rights have been violated here, then where you will go, how you will approach court is given under your Article 32. If these rights are violated, Article 32 will give you remedy. Now your fundamental rights are also called as the Magna Carta of India. The Magna Carta of India. Now we are saying that what if our fundamental rights violates, if someone violates our fundamental rights, then we can approach court. But if a private company does that, can you go and approach Supreme Court is the question. So here we say that whenever you're approaching court, it is only when your state is violating your fundamental rights. Now we'll understand what is state, because the definition of state usually says India, India's boundary or India's water territory. But whereas coming to Article 12, it specifically talks about the word state as per your fundamental rights. How you should think of state when you're talking about your fundamental rights. So your fundamental rights are only guaranteed by your state, not by your private entities. Okavela miru edana restaurant kelli, they say you where are your shoes? You can't step in with slippers. You went to some nice restaurant and they said that we have a dress code. You can't come without shoes. So you can't file a case that na to emaindi, there is some biasness, I was being treated differently. So it is not guaranteed against private people, that is your private industries or private entities. It is only fixed for state. What is state? As per Article 12, state means, unless the context otherwise, the state includes government and Parliament of India, government and legislature of each state. So these are the important points which I am underlining, as well as I'm making it inside the your inverted commas. Here you can say government of India, government of each state and all local and other authorities within India, that is within territory of India, or under control of your government of India. So the keywords you should know is state means government of India, then comes government and legislature of each state, and then comes local bodies, local authorities, then comes all of these which are in India or under your government's control, Indian government's control. So to decode it, we'll say that this part, local or other authority, means your municipal bodies, manak GHMC ela unte ala municipal bodies, and within the territory of India's all these, like all the government, parliament or local bodies which are in India or outside India but still in government's control. For example, manak embassies unte, people who work from India in Indian embassy, people will be Indian usually, so that is also treated as state. Adi India nundi baitunna kuda we will treat it as state, which comes under the control. Now later on, many questions arised that what is state? Can university be treated as state? Can your SBI, the banks, can be treated as state? Or else your BHEL or other big companies, your public sector undertakings can be treated as your state. So after many judgments, they came to a conclusion that if any entity is under government's control, if any entity is getting financial subsidies from government, if any entity is being managed by government, if any crucial decisions are being taken by your government, then we will treat that particular entity is state, and that entity should not violate anyone's fundamental right. So the landmark judgment here is Ajay Hasia versus Khalid Mujib. This is important one and you should remember. Now starting with your fundamental rights, this particular article talks about your fundamental rights and the laws which are not consistent with them. For example, I'll divide it in two. This is your constitution and the laws made before it is pre-constitutional laws, and the laws made after constitution are post-constitutional laws. So if there is any law made which is not consistent to your fundamental rights, then what you'll do? So Article 13, 1 talks about 13.1 talks about pre-constitutional laws, and 13.2 talks about post-constitutional laws. Here we say that if any law which is not consistent or which is not equally or which is not following our fundamental right, before constitution came into force, at that time it was made, until 1950 kanna mundu edana law unte which is not consistent with our fundamental rights, we'll say that we will try to separate. There is doctrine of separation or severability, you say. I'll give you one example of potato. If your mother or someone is cooking in kitchen and there is a potato which is half spoiled. Here it comes. There's a potato which is half spoiled. Then they'll try, obviously when you're cooking, you'll try your best to use the part which is good and you'll throw away the part which is bad. So same will follow here in pre-constitutional laws, that if this part of law is not following fundamental right, we will make it void and the remaining part we will treat valid. But what if without this part is not making sense? మంచిగున్న law కూడా, I mean the part which is consistent or which is following fundamental right doesn't make sense without this part, the bad part, then we'll say that whole law is void. Muttam potato ne we will throw. If you can't separate bad part and good part, we'll throw the whole part. But we'll try our best to separate good one and to make other one void. That is the simple example of your pre-constitutional laws. Post-constitutional laws directly saying, that is your 13(2), when you know that constitutional law exists and there is fundamental right, meek telusunnappudu kuda why you're making any law which is not consistent with your fundamental rights, so then directly you will say that your law which is inconsistent after 1950 will be void. Now, your Article 13 is basis of judicial review. Here, who will decide whether a law is consistent or not consistent? Your judiciary will make sure that మీరు చేసిన law, the law which you have made is consistent to your fundamental right or not. And obviously, the law will be made by legislature. So, judiciary is reviewing the law. This is the base or basic of our judicial review. Now coming to your right to equality, Article 14 to 18. I'll try my best to keep it short and as well as keep it easy. You can go into depth, but right now you should only know the basics. So we'll be only focusing on the basics. Article 14 talks about equality, where it says two things. 14(1) says that every person is equal in eyes of law. No one is big, no one is small. They'll not say ye bada hai, this person is rich, this person is poor. So it is everyone is equal in front of law. And other part, that is 14(2) says that no special privileges to any person. I mean, okay. So here usually this is also part of 14(1), which says that no special privilege will be given to a person. If Ambani is there and if I am here, they'll not give any special status to Ambani. But here 14(2) says that if two unequals are treated equally, that is also violation. If me and someone with one leg is running same race, how we can say that it is equality? So 14(2) talks about two unequals being treated as equal is also your violation of equality before law. So these 2 points are of 14(1). 14(2) says that no unequals can be treated equally. You can note it down this. 15 says that there should be no discrimination on basis of or on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. అంటే మనం ఎవరిని డిస్క్రిమినేట్ చేయొద్దు on these basis. And this is for citizens of India. Whereas coming to 14, it is for people. What is people? People lo citizens vastaru, NRIs vastaru, people who are from other country will also be considered under Article 14. But 15, they're only talking about citizens. To be clear, Article 14 and Article 21 are only two fundamental rights which are given to your people apart from Indian citizens. Indian citizen కాకుండా వేరే వాళ్ళకు కూడా మనము 14 ఇంకా 21 ఆర్టికల్ ఆ ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ ఇస్తాము. Apart from that, all fundamental rights are restricted only for the citizens. It is only up to the citizens. Okay. There in 15, the discrimination is on basis of access to public spaces. 15 law, when we are saying that there will be no discrimination, it means public parks lo meeku enter cheyadaniki ever discriminate cheyaru. There will be bathing hut. In villages, people used to use same well, same river. Akkada meeto ever discrimination cheyarani Article 15 antundi. But whereas coming to Article 16, it is talking about equal opportunity in public employment. Public employment ante state related employments like you're in SBI, in your LIC, or in your any of the PSUs. అప్పుడు ఎంప్లాయ్మెంట్ ఆపర్చునిటీ వస్తే దే విల్ బి నో డిస్క్రిమినేషన్. అండ్ డిస్క్రిమినేషన్ ఆన్ విచ్ గ్రౌండ్స్? ద గ్రౌండ్స్ ఆర్ సేమ్. Here manakunnaga, okay, here the grounds which have been given: religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, place of residence, as well as place of origin. What is origin? You can add for 16 that place of residence and place of origin means if my mother was from Pakistan and my father was from India, and now they both are citizens of India and I am also legal citizen of India, then I will not be discriminated on this ground that my mother was from Pakistan. That is place of origin. Coming to 16, it talks about your equal chance in government jobs, and there should not be any discrimination on basis of, as we seen, those 7 to 8 things. Now comes Article 17, which clearly says that untouchability is abolished. If you still follow untouchability, that okay, you're from this caste, or many people do that, wala house help, intlo untar kada house help, they'll give them water in different glass, they'll drink water in different glass. All those things, discrimination on basis or untouchability on basis of caste, class is criminal offense, and it is abolished. Practice of untouchability is also punishable, where you can also end up in jail. Then comes Article 18, where it talks about titles. Usually mundu manaku titles untunde kada, Sir, Rai Bahadur, like that. Now after independence we said that no titles should be given, but you can have academic titles like advocates, military officials, or your doctor ante MBBS doctor or your PhD doctor. All these things are your academic titles and they are allowed. And as per one of the latest judgment, one of the landmark judgment, they said that me Padma Bhushan award is also considered not as your title. Ante adi valid, manam Padma Bhushan avi use chesukochu because it is given by your Indian government for your special contribution towards India, and it is not titles which are abolished. Ante manam Padma Bhushan use chesukochu. Now we have 6 rights given under your Article 19, and these are the most important rights. 19(1)(a), it talks about 19(1)(a) talks about speech and expression. Right now, if I'm standing here and I'm talking to you, I'm criticizing government or I'm talking about anything, I am doing it for educational purpose, and this is my right given under Article 19(a). Press, media, they talk about everything. They talk about criticism of particular movie. They talk about criticism of particular your political party or political leader. From where they are getting their right? This right is governed under 19(a). 19(b) gives you right to assemble peacefully. Usually you do protest, right, in colleges, in school, at your workplace. So this right to protest similarly against government or state is given under 19(b), but it should be peaceful. You should not carry any arms. Now comes your association. Manamu your employee, you'll make association like workers association, student associations. These associations can be made, but you should not cause problem to others. Now comes your D, which talks about freedom to move freely. If I'm in Hyderabad, I can move to Delhi, I can move to your Kolkata, I can move to Gujarat. I have right under 19(d) that I can move anywhere freely. Now comes E. This is your reside anywhere in India. Now, as I am from Hyderabad, I can go in Delhi. If I get some job, I can reside there. But no one can say me that you're from Hyderabad while you're residing in Delhi. So that is your right to reside anywhere in India. Now comes G. your 19G, which says practice, right to practice any profession. If I want, I can go sell pani puri. If I want, I can go sell tea. But if I want to be doctor, if I want to be engineer, if I want to be advocate, I should have professional degree. This is what your right to practice any profession says. So manaki rights unnai, but these rights are not what you say without any restriction or absolute. Point to be remembered that rights under Article 19 is not absolute. And we have reasonable restrictions. Reasonable restrictions on it. What are the reasonable restrictions? For 19A, you should not talk bad about any person. You should not defame any person. You should not talk bad about your courts, judges. వాళ్ళ గురించి this judge takes bribe. మీకు తెలీదు కానీ you're just speculating. You can't do that. You can't talk bad about Indian government or India, that India is not good. India is doing this, that. You can't be anti-Indian, that something like that. So here you have right to express yourself, but you don't have right to talk bad or talk to right to spread rumors. Rumors is defamation. So you can't defame a person, you can't defame a court, you can't defame the government. Now comes your peaceful assembly. When you are assembling, you should not disturb law and order of your place where you are conducting that protest. You should not carry any arms, any weapons you should not carry. And then form association. Deento mana law and order ki em problem raavaddu. It should not affect sovereignty and integrity of India, they are saying. Now comes move freely. Deentlo they are saying that you can't get into SC/ST tribes, where people, scheduled tribes, scheduled caste people stay, like forest. Many places like Chhattisgarh or in your Andhra Pradesh, you have forest where tribes live still. So to protect their environment and to protect their nature, we have restriction to right to residence and right to move freely. Ante మీరు scheduled tribe places lo you can't go. And then to practice the profession, you should have professional degrees when you want to become doctor or lawyer. Now comes Article 20, which talks about your protection in criminal cases. Number one is ex post facto laws. So ex post facto laws means if I commit some crime today, which is not a crime, constitution law, ఇప్పుడు murder చేయడం crime లేదు right now. Tomorrow if that law comes that whoever commits murder, they should be in jail. So నేను ఇప్పుడు ఇవాళ చేసిన crime కి నాకు రేపు in future will they punish me? So answer is no, that you can't retrospectively enkala past lo వెళ్ళేసి you can't apply the laws. That is your ex post facto laws. Double jeopardy means when, for example, I have done something like I've stole something like a phone, minor thing, and I'm being punished by the what you say one person, and then again you can say one court said that this judgment is given, she should be in jail for 3 months. After that again they are saying no, we want to reopen the case. We have heard she has stole phone plus earbuds. Now you are saying that for one what you say for one wrong or for one offense manamu ఒకటేసారి punish చేస్తాం. You should not punish that person again and again. This is 22, this is 21, and 23 says that no self incrimination. If I commit some offense or I commit some crime, you should not force me to say or to give evidence or witness against myself. నేను దొంగతనం చేస్తే అవును నేను దొంగతనం చేసినా అని I should not say, and you should not even force me to say that. నా గురించి నేనేం తప్పు చెప్పలేను. I should not say anything against myself as my fundamental right. It is given under 23. Article 20. Article 21, which is very important article, and it is widely evolving right now. Starting law, we used to only interpret it as right to life and personal liberty. Ante this is me, my right to life and liberty is very much restricted only టు మై బాడీలీ మూవ్మెంట్. నేను ఇక్కడ నుండి బయటికి వెళ్తే నన్ను ఎవరైనా ఆపితే దిస్ ఇస్ వయలేషన్ ఆఫ్ మై ఆర్టికల్ 21 they used to say. But now it have been evolved that right to die with dignity, right to dignity, right to privacy, right to sleep, right to choose your partner is also considered under Article 21, right to life and liberty. It all started with one case law, that is Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India, where they said that right to travel abroad is also your fundamental right under your Article 21. Now Article 21A is right to education. A endukundi ante it was inserted by amendment. Constitution lo change chesesi we have inserted this right, which says that every child from age 16 to 14 years will have right to compulsory and free education. Zilla Parishad schools, government schools manakuntai kada. We have this is our fundamental right and it is governed under Article 21A. Article 22 talks about protection against arrest and detention. Manani everana arrest cheste, detain cheste, what rights we have? Number 1, we should know why we have been arrested. Naku enduku arrest chestarani, I should know the grounds of the arrest. For what reason? I have right to consult my lawyer. Even if I am arrested for some serious matter, I have right to talk to my lawyer or my advocate. I have right to appoint advocate for myself. Must be produced before magistrate within 24 hours. నాకు ఇవాళ అరెస్ట్ చేస్తే 24 hours లోపల they should present me in front of magistrate and they'll exclude the time of traveling. అంటే ఇక్కడ నుండి మెజిస్ట్రేట్ దగ్గర తీసుకెళ్లే వరకు ఒక 4-5 hours ఏదైనా అవుతే that will be deducted and remaining will be calculated. But the rule says that you should kaadu, must means at any cost you should produce the person within 24 hours. Now these are not that important, but still we'll see this. Article 23 says about prohibition of human trafficking and forced labor. So your beggars and your bonded laborers untar kada, you'll make them work for yourself and you'll not pay them. That is bonded laborers. That is prohibited under Article 23. Manamu human trafficking cheyoddu. You should not use people for human trafficking, like begging. You should not make them bonded laborers. Double ఇవ్వకుండా పని చేపించుకుంటారు. You should not do that. Article 24 says that no children should be working in your hazardous industry. If a child is below 14 years, he should not work in factories, he should not work in places where there is some hazardous activity going on. Ante mana chemicals unde places where they work with something dangerous. Ada child below 14 should not work. Article 25 to 28 is talking about religion. And a religion lo emem untadi? Freedom to profess, practice and propagate religion. Nenu a religion follow cheskochu. And I can even believe in that religion and I can also propagate the religion. Ante na religion gurinchi goppaga nenu opposite person ni chepkochu. But it should not be forceful conversion, or you should not do something forcefully. But you can talk good about, or you can propagate your religion in public. So no forced religious instruction in certain institutes. If it is minority institution, if it is madrasa or your missionary school, they can give their religious instructions or they can propagate their religion. But whereas if it is a normal, the private, Abhyas is a private place, I can't say them every morning you should sing some bhajan. So that is forced religious instruction. We should not do that. Then comes 2930, which is talking about educational rights and cultural rights. This is specifically made to protect your culture and to protect your language. Here, the protection of language, script and culture of minorities is most focused on. Ante konni languages untai kada, which is spoke by really less people. Adi eppudu endangered aipotado, we don't know. So to protect that language, to protect that culture, you can set up one educational institution. And minorities can establish educational institution for this purpose. Your minority, if you know, Manipal University in Bangalore is established under Article 2930. Then comes your Article 32, that is constitutional remedy, which I'll discuss in detail. It is also known as heart and soul of the constitution. If I have fundamental rights, నా దగ్గర ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ ఉంది కానీ నేను దాన్ని ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేయలేకపోతే what's use of that? So that's the reason we are saying it is heart and soul of the constitution. If I have right, I should even have right to protect it. అంటే నాకు ఒక ప్రొటెక్షన్ ఉండాలని you have article 32. So we have two articles in your constitution. One is 32 where you can approach Supreme Court. One is 226 where you can approach High Court if any of your fundamental rights have been violated by your state. State in the article 12 చూసుకున్నాం కదా. So a state law, any body which falls under state, if it violates your fundamental rights, you can approach Supreme Court and High Court. First writ, we have 5 types of writs. So first writ is habeas corpus, which is also known as to produce the body. Keywords గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. Habeas corpus talks about body, and whenever someone wrongly have arrested me or restricted me from movement, nani room lo falsely, if someone locks me or else some police person without any reason he arrests me, then I can file habeas corpus. Habeas corpus writ I can file to Supreme Court or your High Court. Example, police detaining a person or arresting a person, at that time habeas corpus writ manamu directly file cheyochu lekapothe mana relative file cheyochu. Then comes mandamus. The key word is command. If a person is not fulfilling his duty, ఒక official, government official ఆయన డ్యూటీని మంచిగా చేయకపోతే you have right to file writ to Supreme Court or High Court and ask court to give directions. Court will say that to that particular public authority that perform your duty. Now example is that municipality refuses to issue certificate. మన మున్సిపాలిటీలో MRO దగ్గర మనం వెళ్తాం certificate కోసం, they'll not give it. They'll say kalana parswana. SBI lo will go for our work to bank, they'll say we are having lunch, come tomorrow. At that time you can file mandamus writ and you can ask them to complete their duty. Now comes certiorari and prohibition. These both are like dhania pudina, very confusing. So certiorari is nothing but to quash or to certify. Now court already gave some judgment ichchaka you are still in doubt whether justice have been done to you or not. At that time higher court can cancel the illegal order of lower court or tribunal when your court is not following natural justice. Ante mimmalni vinnakundane me against judgment ichesaru, you can file certiorari. It means when some wrong judgment is given, higher court will cancel the order of lower court. This is your certiorari. To quash means nothing but to cancel. Dani cancel cheyadamni quash antam. Prohibition is nothing but this is to stop or to prohibit. Certiorari happens after the judgment. Prohibition happens during the case pendency. Case nadustunnappudu prohibition istunnamo. Case అయిపోయిన తర్వాత decision వచ్చేసిన తర్వాత you are going for certiorari. So higher court stop lower court from exceeding his jurisdiction. నా పవర్ ఎంత ఉంటే దాని లోపల నేను పని చేయాలి. If I am going outside my power, prohibition writ can be filed. Now comes your last writ, that is quo warranto. Quo warranto is nothing but it will ask you by what authority. మీ దగ్గర ఏం authority ఉన్నది that you're doing this. I have the authority that I'm faculty here in Abhyas and that's the reason I am recording lectures and I'm uploading. But if some random person comes and do this, he uses the studio room or he uses the account, then we can ask him, but by what authority you're doing it? And if we see this person doesn't have authority, we will oust him. What do you mean by oust? OUST, oust ante తీసేయడంని to remove is oust. So court questions the legality of a person holding that public office. A public office hold చేస్తున్న మనిషిని అడుగుతాము what authority or what qualification you have. If we feel this person doesn't have that qualification, we'll remove him. Now comes your DPSP. ikkada here I'll have less work to do and you will have more work to do. I will just explain you. I mean, I can't make it memorized to you. I can't just buttify it to you, but you should make sure that you are remembering at least keywords of everything. We'll go with the facts and I'll make sure that I'm also explaining it to you easily. But to remember the keywords is your work. Now, Article 36 to 51 is talking about DPSP and your DPSP falls under part 4. One thing to remember, fundamental rights part 3. And what are your sections? Your articles. Article 12 to 32. And then your DPSP is part 4, Article 36 to 51, and comes your fundamental duties which fall under 4A, part 4A and Article 51A. A ante amendment. So this is, you should remember, they can ask you DPSP falls under which part. So it is part 4, fundamental duties 4A, and your fundamental rights for your 3. Like that you should remember. And now DPSPs are nothing but guidelines to the state and the lawmakers how laws should be made and how we can give maximum justice and how we can do maximum welfare to our citizens. The facts you should remember for DPSP is that it has been borrowed from Irish constitution. It is not enforceable in court. You can't enforce it in court. If your lawmaker is not following DPSP, you can't go and approach court. You don't have right to complain. The aim or the motive behind DPSP is to achieve social, economical and political justice. It is more like a moral obligation. Din meeda mana case kaadu, you can't fight for it. So it is like moral obligation. It is not justifiable. The word is justifiable. Now these are your DPSPs you should remember. Article 38 says that promote welfare of people and social order. 39 says that adequate livelihood, equal pay, protection of children. This is important one. You can say that 39 talks about livelihood, equal pay, protection of children. 39A, it have been inserted by your amendment, talks about legal aid and equal justice. 3 star, most important. 39A, Article 39A, you have your District Legal Service Authority, National Legal Service Authority. This will help people who are poor, who can't afford advocates. They'll help them out. Free legal aid and equal justice. Most important, 39A. Article 40, Organization of Village Panchayat. Article 41, Right to Work, Education, Public Assistance. 42, Human Work Conditions and Maternity Relief. 43, living wage, cottage industries. 43A, it has also been inserted by your amendment. Workers' participation in management. Management okkate decision తీసుకొద్దు, workers should also participate in it. Then 44, UCC, most controversial and most important. 3 star. You should also know UCC have been implemented in Uttarakhand. Gujarat is planning to implement UCC. The state, that is Goa, it is following UCC for more than a century now. So you should know what are the controversies around UCC and which state have first implemented, that is Uttarakhand. Gujarat is also planning to implement UCC. Just know the background of UCC. It will be important for your current affairs and general knowledge as well. 45 says early childhood care and education. You as parent has duty to take care of child and to educate it. Then Promotion of SC, ST and weaker section, Article 46, important. Article 47, nutrition, public health, prohibition of intoxicants, drugs and all. And your alcohol, drugs, tobacco and all falls here. 48 talks about agriculture and animal husbandry. They also say that mana slaughtery, owl and champadam, that is all falling under your 48 DPSP. They says that you should stop animal slaughtery. Now comes 48A, which talks about protection of your forest and environment. Most important, this is the whole base of your environment law. 48A. 49 talks about monuments. We go to Taj Mahal, we go to Charminar. What we see usually is some random person writing their name. It is not right thing to do. You should protect your monument, and this also falls under your fundamental duty to protect monuments and not to damage it. Article 50 says separation of judiciary from executive. Judiciary separate undala, executive separate undala. This is also important. 50. 51 says international peace and security. Are we following it? Yes. India is neutral right now and trying its best to protect international peace and security of us as well as others. So we can say 51 is also important because currently war chala news lo undi kada. You can say that this might come. Now comes your fundamental duties, which falls under your Part 4A and Article 51A. Fundamental duties more like your moral obligation, and it is actually our duty, that is citizens' duty towards our nation. India ki prati mana duty adi. This is your fundamental duty, but no one will file case if you will not follow these. So it is not justifiable, it is not bounding. First thing to remember, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Law. By amendment we have A ante amendment, good pettukondi. So 42nd Amendment tarvata manamu fundamental duties ni we have inserted in your constitution. We have got inspired by your Russia constitution undi we took your fundamental duties. It has initially 10 duties, but 11th duty was added by 86th Amendment. And this duty is also resembling your Article 21A, which has also been added by 86th Amendment. 86th Amendment lo em add ayindante Article 21A, right to education, and 11th fundamental duty, which talks about duty of parents to send their child to the school. So these are your duties. I'm underlining the keywords. Clause A says that respect nation, respect national flag, national anthem. So you should respect these. Follow the ideals of freedom strugglers. Few people follow ideology of your Subhash Chandra Bose. Few people follow Gandhiji's ideas. So it depends on you, but you should follow some freedom fighters' ideology. Then you should uphold your country's sovereignty, unity and integrity. Manamandaram kalchimelchi undala. You should be united, and you should even make sure that India should be sovereign. We should not be dependent on any third country or second country. We should be independent and not dependent on any other country. That is sovereign. Now defend the country and render national service. War unnappudu, when they feel that we don't have enough soldiers, they can ask us youngsters to come and join, and this is your fundamental duty to go and join. Now comes promote harmony and brotherhood. That is what we said. We all are one and we should be like brothers. And then preserve rich heritage and culture. We should we should try our best to save our culture and heritage and to protect natural environment. 51AG is also important. This is your duty under 51AG to protect environment. We should develop scientific temper, humanism. We should have humanity, and you should even have this scientific temper. You should safeguard the public property and avoid violence. if the recent riot, you remember Delhi lo ayindi kada recent riot, how they just set a fire on public transport, private transport, I mean private vehicles. So that is not you should do. This is not a thing to do. Avoid violence and you should safeguard the public property. And then strive for excellence. You should make sure that every day you should do something better which will make you and your country proud. Now, parents, this is after amendment and this is important. Parents, guardian must provide education to children age group 6 to 14. This is also your fundamental right under Article 12A. Now, they are not justiciable. They are non-justiciable ante you can't go and approach court. No one can file case against you if you're not following these duties. And it is only applicable to Indian citizens మీదనే అప్లై అవుతుంది. More like a moral responsibility, and it is helping us to maintain discipline and patriotism. So in this class, I have discussed with the important concepts, whereas I felt that it will be more lengthy if I'll go with MCQs. In part 2, I'll try to cover the other topics and will come with one separate video where we'll be solving MCQs related to constitutional law. So the next constitutional law, that is constitutional law part 2 video, will be out in 2 to 3 days. And if you felt that this video was helpful, please like, share and subscribe.